Welcome to today's episode of our podcast. I'm Hari.
And I'm Kimi. Today we are exploring a literary masterpiece, Hilaire Belloc's classic 1902 travelogue, The Path to Rome.
This isn't just a travel book, Kimi. It's a highly digressive spiritual account of a pilgrimage Belloc took entirely on foot from his old garrison in Toul to Rome. Belloc was an incredibly accomplished foot traveler.
Oh, absolutely. He once marched an incredible 2,800 miles from Philadelphia to California just to court Elodie Hogan, who became his wife. So a trek across Europe was practically a light stroll for him. He was born in France to a French father and English mother, later moving to England.
Exactly. The idea for this pilgrimage sparked when he visited his birthplace, La Celle Saint-Cloud. He stepped into the parish church and noticed an extraordinary statue of St. Mary behind the altar. It captured the spirit of his valley so deeply that he vowed to walk to Rome.
He set some incredibly strict rules. He made 5 vows: travel entirely on foot, sleep rough, cover 30 miles a day, attend Mass daily, and reach Rome in time for the High Mass at St. Peter's Basilica on June 29th for the Feast of Saints Peter and Paul.
But here is the hilarious twist. He ended up breaking almost all of those strict vows one by one, except for that very last one. His journey was a beautiful, chaotic struggle of determination and compromise.
Right from the start, in the first town, Flavigny, he realized he'd missed Mass, vow broken. Then, walking to Epinal, he overexerted himself, injuring his foot and knees. Unable to maintain 30 miles a day, he bought a healing balm from an apothecary to ease the pain.
Then there's the tragedy in Belfort. He bought delicious open-fermented wine for the road, but the bottle came loose and shattered on the ground. Shortly after, he crossed into Switzerland without even realizing it until he asked a group of traveling merchants.
He was so exhausted in Switzerland that when a passing wagoner offered a ride, he resisted getting in but clung to the side of the wagon and walked alongside it to Undervilliers. He technically didn't ride in the cart, so he convinced himself he kept his walking vow.
As he pushed deeper, the language barrier grew tough. He tried to hire a guide to cross the dangerous Newfoundland Pass in the Swiss Alps, but terrible weather made it impossible, forcing him to take a detour to the Italian border town of Chiasso.
Once in Como, Italy, he only had 1 franc and 80 centimes left. Seeing this as a clear sign of divine mercy, he broke his walking vow, went to the station, and bought a train ticket to Milan for that exact amount. Talk about a perfect coincidence.
Later, in Calistano, he was actually detained by law enforcement. Luckily, he managed to charm the mayor into releasing him to a celebrating crowd before racing through Tuscany. Reaching Rome's Gate of the Poplar, he arrived just as Mass ended, but a priest told him another would start in 20 minutes. He made it.
But in true Belloc fashion, he refused to write anything about Rome itself at the end of the book, finishing instead with a poem. Behind the scenes, the story of how this book came to be is just as dramatic, involving serious financial anxiety.
He was struggling financially with a wife and 3 young kids. His mother, the poet and feminist campaigner Bessie Rayner Parks, begged him not to go, fearing the long absence would ruin his journalism career at the Daily News.
But Belloc argued a successful book would boost his profile. He had to beg his sister Marie for funds and constantly reassured his wife about money he was owed for his Robespierre biography, daily news articles, and lectures for the University of London.
He finished all but 6 pages of his Robespierre biography the night before leaving for Toul in June 1901. The style of The Path to Rome is also incredibly unique. It's written in a stream of consciousness style, with no chapters or dates.
Yes, it contains songs with sheet music, hand-drawn maps, and constant arguments with an imagined, highly combative reader called lector. Literary scholars describe this narrative structure as metalepsis and defamiliarization, creating a carnivalesque Rabelaisian feel.
It was an absolute sensation, with some sources claiming it sold over 112,000 copies, though others suggest this figure stems from a transcription error and the actual number was closer to 12,000. His friend G.K. Chesterton gave it glowing praise, calling it the product of a rich intellect's genuine buoyancy, contrasting it with the freezing folly of modern books.
It inspired travel writer Stephen Graham and poet Ivor Gurney, who carried it as a trench companion in World War I. Writer Gerald Cumberland even walked across England to emulate Belloc's journey.
And mountaineer Arnold Lunn reread it every year. Lunn once told Belloc how much he loved it, and Belloc revealed he had sadly sold the copyright for a ridiculously small sum.
It really is. Scholars note that the book highlights Belloc's neo-medievalist worldview, idealizing a unified, pre-capitalist Europe. He believed true happiness lay in simple human habits like drinking, manual labor, and dancing.
Belloc wrote over 100 books, but famously claimed he hated writing and only did it for money, except for this one. He wrote, "The Path to Rome is the only book I ever wrote for love," and noted in his own copy that he wrote it for the glory of God.
That is such a beautiful testament to a legendary journey. Well, that's all for today's episode, folks. We hope you enjoyed walking this path with us.
This episode is based on the Wikipedia article, The Path to Rome, which is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license. This podcast was crafted using artificial intelligence.